This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the morning of Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. Agricultural producers across the United States are expressing concerns over tariffs and agricultural trade, according to the latest Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer. Jim Mintert with Purdue says 30% of survey respondents in March said they expect ag exports to decline in 2025.
We think this is kind of interesting because historically export growth has been an engine of growth for the U.S. ag economy. So this loss of optimism about exports and the fact that it seems to be correlated now with the concerns about tariffs is really indicative of a change in attitude.
57% of respondents also said that tariffs would have either a negative or very negative impact on their farm's income this year. Indiana University is investing $75 million to expand programs, add faculty, and provide new lab space for the Luddy School of Informatics, Computing, and Engineering in Bloomington. The university said it plans to launch new degree programs in areas such as computer engineering, robotics, and microelectronics. A $40 million warehouse is being planned for a 78-acre site near the former Majestic Star Casino along Lake Michigan in Gary. Our partners at the Times of Northwest Indiana report a developer is targeting the investment at the former Lehigh Cement Company plant at Buffington Harbor, and the move could result in hundreds of new jobs. The developer aims to break ground this quarter. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
To succeed, you need to stay informed. You need to be engaged. And let's face it, you need to set yourself apart from the rest by connecting with a company that brings you the best. Because in today's environment, business is an ever-moving target, and we'll help you chase it. IBJ Media. The best of business is in us. Get started at ibjmedia.com/youngprofessional.
Governor Mike Braun is requiring the nonprofit fundraising arm of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation to disclose years of missed annual financial reports. Here's Gary Dick.
On Tuesday, Braun signed an executive order requiring all state-affiliated nonprofit foundations and corporations to comply with mandated reporting requirements and catch up on all missed reports within the last 10 years, even if they were granted an exemption. In a news release, the governor's office singled out the Indiana Economic Development Foundation, which supports IEDC travel and business attraction efforts, for failing to produce transparency reports. The Indiana Capital Chronicle reported the foundation received about $2.7 million in private donations from 2020 to 2022, but most donors were granted anonymity. The IEDC website lists 14 companies and entities, including several utilities and developers, as donors. Braun's office says the IEDF has not filed a required annual report with the State Budget Committee since 2019. In 2012, it received an exemption from the IRS for future filings of their Form 990, which would include information about donors, fundraising totals, and expenses. Under the executive order, the foundation will need to produce and post online all missed state and IRS forms before the end of the year. Other nonprofits supporting state agencies include the Healthy Hoosiers Foundation, the Indiana Destination Development Foundation, and the Indiana State Museum Foundation. This is Gary Dick for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
The Republican supermajority voting bloc in the Indiana House approved Medicaid work requirements on Tuesday, though such a program change will require federal approval before it can go into effect. It moved on a 66-28 vote, mostly along party lines. Under Senate Bill 2, those enrolled in the Healthy Indiana Plan, which covers low to moderate income Hoosiers between the ages of 19 and 64, will need to either work or volunteer for 20 hours each week, with several exceptions for caregivers, disabled beneficiaries, and more. The sponsoring Republican, Representative Brad Barrett of Richmond, pointed to funding concerns for the state's fastest-growing expenditure, saying limiting enrollment would preserve the government insurance option for the neediest. Oliver Winery CEO Pat Brown is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports and entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.